I reached out to you, didn't hear from you for a little while, but the reason I reached out was because I watched the the Stevo interview with Bam.
This is the first that anybody has heard from my dear friend Bam Margera in quite some time. And with that said, there's been a lot of rumors and conspiracy theories and crazy stuff swirling around Bam. And I'm thrilled that you're going to be able to hear from Bam what really has been going on.
I've known Bam since the beginning of 2019. As you know and probably remember, but I'll refresh for people listening that haven't heard, I was heavily in the comedy business and entertainment business and was producing a lot of events and had recently had like a little string of different celebrities I'd been working with and kind of kept looking for like the next big thing to do, you know? And I had heard that Bam was throwing a big house party. So a couple comedians I had worked with, I sent there. They already had business cards of mine on them. And I just sent them there with my card, gave it to Bam's people and said, you know, this guy's interested in doing an event with you. And then a few weeks later, I got a call on my phone from Bam's manager because they had an event they already put together in Detroit that was like falling apart. And they didn't prepare any set. Bam's never done any live event. And they didn't have any other comedians or anything. And it was in Detroit. And there was like 400 people there. And he just had my card in his pocket and was like, you know, so I ended up driving out to Detroit and did that event with them, and that's how I met him.
Right, and you also, so before you worked with Bam, you were working with Artie Lang. So
that was actually right before that, yeah.
So
yeah.
in a lot of ways, you're kind of known for like being the producer of these two guys during the worst moments of their whole life, basically.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of a fucked up position to be in. Like I'm sure a lot of the people surrounding them resent you.
Yeah, but in many ways.
Okay, but see, here's the type of person that Vinny's going to work with. Vinny was trying to set up a whole shit with Bagel Boss. Like that's the type of guy that Vinny is working with.
That shit up, everywhere I go, I get the same fucking smirk with the biting lip. Shut your mouth. You're not God or my father.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I just wanted bagels.
So this is how you got involved with Bam. You're producing shows with him. You're doing all this shit with Bam.
Exactly.
And it was a crazy fucking tour. I mean, how many times did TMZ get involved with this fucking Bam tour that you organized for him? At least twice, right?
TMZ covered more of the tour than there was a tour.
That's you in the corner right there, right?
That's what people think, but it is not me. Bam goes, let's pull over here. We like pulled off a highway into a hotel, and he goes, everybody out and do 25 push-ups. And I'm fatter, so he was like, there's no way Vinny will do them. Well, I did them right with him. And after we're done, just to see Jack and Elazar shaking.
Wait, did you have to do them in one? You had to do 20 in one rep?
25, yeah, 25.
You did 25 push-ups in one rep? How much do you weigh?
I was a little bit thinner, probably about 15 or 20 pounds thinner at the time, but I was probably 230. I was still big. I was still big.
Hold on a second. That's a lie. Are you serious? I'm saying kind of cap.
I'm a lot heavier and weaker in the arms now, and I could probably do 10 on camera.
No. You're doing no. I would not have even said anything unless you brought it up. Do some push-ups right now, Vinny. I got the camera back on you. Let's see at least 5. Let's see 5 push-ups here.
I don't even have any floor room in my office right here.
We'll
do it.
Up.
We'll do it another. I know, CJ. All right, CJ. I'm capping, but it was a good story.
Stevo released a podcast with Bam.
Well, me and Stevo have history too, because right around that 2019 period when those shows were happening, I had a whole tour book that Stevo basically was telling me that I was the reason Bam was on meth, even though I didn't even know he was.
Yeah, Stevo has hated you for different periods.
Yeah,
he
hated me at the time. Me and Stevo actually made amends, but at the time, Stevo hated me and was like calling every club and saying, "I'll never play here if you do Vinny shows," and it kind of blackballed me for a while.
I'm watching the Stevo thing, and the whole hour-long video is about Bam going to rehab. He's like this new, changed person. Like he has revigorated his life. Stevo is like, I'm only doing this because you seem serious about your sobriety. And it was a really crazy video to watch.
So, dude, let's just come out and say it that us having this conversation is fucking explosive, like almost radioactive. Some people, I mean, like the interest in people hearing from you, people hearing, seeing us together is off the charts. And,
I did a year of alcohol treatment, and I actually have never felt better. I actually didn't realize I had such a problem that I did. And
do. That's a distinction that we need to be clear about.
Yeah, I guess do. Because Novak said, dude, if you just do a year, you'll understand how much better you will feel. Because you always go 30 to 60 days, maybe 90 tops. But if you just do a year, you'll understand. And I call him up after a year. I'm like, Novak, I understand. I get it. I feel great now. You know, I do not want that lifestyle. I got a 4-year-old. I don't miss the hangovers whatsoever. And I just don't want to return to that anymore.
Like, damn, I know Bam from, going on this crazy tour with Vinny Beetle, doing all this crazy shit. And now he's going on Stevo's show talking about how he's this, like, new changed man. So walk me through what's going on behind the scenes. Like, what are we missing from the story I'm being told?
So in the last 3 years, Bam's team has taken over his social media page, which has most of his followers, 2 million people on Instagram. And what's interesting about that is Bam not having his social media, he doesn't have any influence to his large audience. So they post whatever they want and he doesn't see any of it. And they basically, what they started to do was they said, okay, we're going to keep Bam in these rehabs. And when we see him, we're going to take tons of videos and then spread them out over time to let people know he's okay. So like, this podcast, for example, his Instagram's filled with examples of like that. How I started to learn this was I would match up text messages with Bam with timeline to like what he's telling me. And at one point, he had messaged me weeks before this was released, months, and was like, Stevo, are you and Stevo cool? Because he wants me to tour with him and I want you to tour with me. And so that was his question. And it wasn't until this podcast was released that I realized when it was filmed, which was much prior. The reason it was released, they like put it in the chamber. And the reason they did it was Bam was at the time under a guardianship, legal guardianship. With
like a Britney Spears type situation.
A conservatorship without the financial implications.
And as we go into this, I would love to set the record straight that number one, Bam has not ever been under a conservatorship, that the temporary guardianship he was under did not ever have any financial implications. And what's come to be known as the Free Bam movement has really been very toxic. It serves to try to assassinate the character of Bam's former guardian, Lima, who has never been paid to work on Bam's case, has never done anything but try to help Bam. And it's been very upsetting to see people not only encouraging Bam to leave treatment and go get loaded, but just attacking this woman who's been so helpful and so beloved by Bam's family and friends. So I just wanted to set the record straight on that. Also, this episode was recorded a while back and we held on to it until now. And with that said, let's get into it.
Now, Stevo talks in this episode about how a Britney Spears conservatorship is nothing like Bam's guardianship because there's no money involved. But what Stevo fails to realize is that Britney's conservator was her father, and Bam's parents didn't want to take on conserving him.
Okay, so from what it sounds like you're telling me, this podcast was sort of like a big PR stunt. How is the Stevo podcast, which is talking about him getting clean and wanting to get clean, how is it different from what the reality of the situation is?
Because Bam is not ready to get clean.
They talk about the Free Bam movement in
On here.
the Stevo podcast.
From your perspective of what you have seen and what your experience has been over the last year, can we safely say that you have not been a prisoner and mistreated and like stolen from like the whole, like, help us understand your situation?
No, I was just getting treatment for my alcohol and bipolar, and I just did more time than I was supposed to just from getting kicked out for dumb reasons. But now I'm out. I get freedom. I get a phone, and nobody was forcing me to be there.
Steve, the Britney Spears thing, like that was a conservatorship, and this is different.
Very different indeed. You put conspiracy theorists online trying to say that a guardianship is the same as a conservatorship. It's not. And nobody has taken control of your money, Bam. Can we confirm that?
Yeah.
What's happened over the last year is that you've gotten help, which you acknowledge that you need.
Okay, so in the video, Stevo makes it out where Bam adamantly is kind of saying that the free Bam movement, he's like kind of discrediting it. So
because
explain all that to me, because Bam himself is like saying that, this is not right or whatever.
Right. Bam is saying that because, Bam is like a very influenced person, so he doesn't know this BJ girl, and Lima, everybody that she's talking about was going to him and saying, don't believe her. She's crazy. She's got people suing her and all this stuff and just telling him nonsense. So he's like, yeah, okay, she's crazy. Like, I honestly, there's nobody that wants him sober more than me. All he wants to do is be around me and work with me. It would benefit my life immensely in my career. It would probably rejuvenate it, but it's just not what's important right now.
Let me ask you this, though. Has this all been communicated to Stevo?
Little bits, me and Stevo had made up at some point, and then we talk, and we made up, and we've talked, and anytime I shoot him a DM, he'll answer me for the most part, but he doesn't support free Bam. But I did hit him up recently, and I was like, hey man, what if these people around him don't have the best intentions? I'm just saying a what if.
I feel like if Lima is really doing some fuck shit, Stevo needs to be the number one ally, obviously.
Yeah.
Like he needs, people need to find a way to get him on board. That's literally the next step. Stevo has to be on the team.
And I know
because you're leveling some like very serious stuff, and I'm just trying to think like if in reality this is the case, I don't see why they're not like speaking up more about how bad Lima is. Like it's just odd that I only hear that from you.
The rehab is a reoccurring thing; it keeps charging.
Yep.
So like the whole family's working real hard to pay that bill off, which to me, not to put his business out there, just means they're like running out of Bam's money. You know what I mean? And I know that because they sold his house, they sold some cars, they've done this stuff. So that's a telltale sign. You don't get rid of assets unless it's fucking fire sale. You know what I mean?
Dude, so it's he has to get sober. I mean, it sounds like he's running out of fucking money.
Yeah. The beauty of it is, though, if he gets sober, then the money's right there. Like he's so valuable to content that a sober Bam would be the equivalent of like a Robert Downey Jr. comeback,
Doesn't it make you sad that he won't just like stop drinking? Doesn't that make you sad? Do you ever feel sad just thinking about that? Because that's like, I hear that.
Yeah.
That to me is like a bummer because I grew up with Bam. Like I remember how much I loved everything he would do. And now it's like he's like a shell of a fucking man. It's just sad.
He's in a lot of pain, dude.
I know. It's rough to see somebody go through that type of shit. I mean, and you see Stevo. Stevo has made a total 180, but he is fucking... Dude, Stevo is so fucking Hollywood, man. All he's trying to do, he's in that grind. He's the type of addict who needs to be in like a grind where he's like, oh, we got to sell this ad space. We got to do this podcast. We
got infinitely recyclable aluminum cans.
Well, Stevo's always been very jealous of Bam's career because when they made it in Jackass, Bam was rich off of his Element merch from being a pro skater, and Stevo was broke. And so Stevo was very jealous. So I do believe that there are parts of me that think like Stevo's like, yeah, this is my time. Not that he wants Bam to hurt, But I think that if Bam got better and never did like a comedy tour, I think that Stevo would be fine with that.
It just seemed like like Stevo wanted so bad during the interview to believe that Bam was gonna like move on to the next chapter.
Because I don't think this is something Stevo's like involved in the everyday aspect of this. I think his mom probably went to him and was like, "Hey, Stevo, we really need you to do this podcast defending Lima." And Stevo was like, "Well, is Bam serious?" "Yes." And he'll be there and he'll say he's serious and he is sober. And so Stevo's just doing what he's asked, which I can't really blame him for this. But at the same time, if you're Stevo and you look this bad and we find out Lima's this crazy, if this ends up happening, he'll probably just not get involved ever again because now he's put his word out there. The free Bam movement's growing every single day, dude. Every single day.
And I think is Bam in support of the free Bam movement?
Bam thinks it's humorous that people think he's captured because rich people, even in rehab, still get a pretty nice life, So he's not like, in his mind, he's not captured in a prison somewhere in another country, but he doesn't really understand yet, but he's starting to see, like he just responds more to me being like, this person's bad and here's evidence why.
Wait. Let me slow you down a little bit. So if you had to lean on he supports free Bam or he does not support free Bam, which one of those two are you going to lean on?
Right now, he does support free Bam because he's listening to everything I'm saying.